Great, well, welcome to Agile Middle East. I'm here with one of the great people of Agile and a good friend.
Thank you.
Mr. Arie. And I'm going to kick off with just a very simple question. Why do you exist?
Wow, that's a very, very big question. But you know, when you talk about purpose in life, for me, what I noticed that I like to do is, first of all, you know, I like to innovate, I like to learn, I like to improve. I don't believe in doing things the same way all the time. And second, I like to help other people moving forward. I think this is why I spent 20 years at the Rotterdam University lecturing, and I do this thought leadership at Humanity and also being part of the Agile community for 24 years now.
Yeah, definitely. And in all these projects of transformation that you've seen, what's been the biggest challenge for the C-suite in adopting this Agile way of thinking, this mindset?
Yeah, I think there are two major challenges for C-level environments. The first one is accepting that you know, becoming an Agile organization requires also the C-level fully to be Agile because their role modeling, their behavior will be copied by the rest of the company. So that's one. And the second is, it's not a problem to motivate the people, but to keep them motivated, you have to remove, you know, that middle layer that's identifying all the silos and sustain. Yeah, the permafrost, right? That's what I always call it, and that's the second challenge that really needs to be taken in. Yeah.
And often people now, especially Agile, is becoming a big buzzword. We're getting more and more requests to become Agile, and hopefully you'll be coming into the country. When people say, "Am I Agile?" Or "Where is my maturity on the Agile scale?" which is always a question. You. What do you answer? I mean, how do you help them? Because it's a mindset thing, right?
Yeah, it's a mindset thing. So you can see, okay, you know, do we work Agile? Is it successful? Are we happy with what's coming out? But in terms of you know, the mindset and getting there, I think the most important one is that if you transform your organization to an Agile organization, it means that a whole lot of things in there are changing. Bureaucracy is changing, etc. So from there on, you can identify how much of the old bureaucracy is still there, and you can put a measure on, oh, if something goes wrong, how do I respond? Do I respond with traditional solutions, or do I respond with Agile solutions? And this is where the difference is, because most people, when they go into transformation, you know, working Agile in the beginning, it can be difficult because it's not what you used to do. Yeah. So some things go wrong or not as good as you like, and what people tend to do is they step back into the old ways because that's what they used to do.
It's behavioral.
Yeah, and the moment they're able to say, okay, it doesn't work, but how can we make it, you know, within the values and the principles, how can we make it work? Yeah. If that's going to be your stand, then Agile is your metabolism, and then you're getting into a real good maturity level.
Cool. And there's a nice example, I think it's Stephen Denning, when he talks about the Copernicus model.
Yeah.
So many companies say, yes, we are customer focused. But then, of course, it's only customer focused as long as the stakeholders are getting the value they want.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you help people see the light or understand that the difference between customer at the center or customer at the center because it pleases the stakeholders?
Yeah, I think that's it's a question to make, and depends on the type of organization that you have. I think for me, it's very important to have really customer focus. I strongly believe that if you take good care of your people, they will take good care of your clients, right? Of your customers. And what Agile brings in there, at least in my perspective, what I like to do is I like to take the client into my teams. Yes. So I have the one-on-one feedback and not being overruled by stakeholders from within the company, but really, you know, co-creating. I think co-creation is the word that I apply for 24 years now, and I think that's the magical word.
And when you have teams which are not co-located, how does that make, obviously if it's all co-located as in eye-to-eye contact in the daily huddles, it makes it easier. But if you're in Amsterdam, I'm in Dubai, and we're working on the same, you know, there's technologies, but what about the behavioural sort of things that can make this team work better?
Like we all know that we have a lot of tools, you know, VideoConf, it's really good, it's really cool. And I think it can really help, but it only really helps if you have established the team essence first. So what I always recommend, if teams start working in an agile way and you have geographically distributed teams, bring them together, kick off team building so that it's easy access. You know, that's the most important. You really, you know, strong eye-to-eye, face-to-face contact. And then later on, sort of you repeat every now and then that people get together, because if you are really co-located, and I have a very simple question, I can just walk into your room or walk to your desk and I can ask you, and otherwise it's depending on the rituals that you have via video calls, and they're helpful, but I need to have easy access, and that's a human-to-human thing, you know, how many barriers do I feel? So build the trust in the team first, then you can split up again and on a regular basis sort of maintain the trust.
Cool. You said something nice in the presentation. You said many nice things, but too many meetings. So often, oh my God, not another type of meeting, you know? And you said something nice. It's like, this is the meeting that is important. And I have to get into these conversations as well. So when the busy business, the high growth business has got 1,000,001 things, and if they're spending 8 hours a day in meetings, what's your advice when it says we're shifting, we're transforming to this daily huddle, to this weekly sprints or bi-weekly sprints? What's the difference between pushing that type of meeting on top of the 1,000,001 meetings they're doing anyway?
Yeah, well, I think if you go into an agile transformation, you asked earlier about C-level. So what we do with the management teams, we sit down, okay, what are your meetings about? What is the value per meeting? And very often we are able to, and we are able to, you know, to easily to take out 50% of their meetings because it turns out they don't have value. They're just there because they're there. So that's a very important one. Also, I explain to people that in the agile rituals, this is where the work happens. And in between you have production work, but the thinking and the alignment to make sure that we don't have a delay and we deliver the right stuff and we deliver the value, that's what happens in the heartbeats and in the dailies and in the demos. So those are so important. This is but this is take a paradigm shift, obviously. So you have to take it into the transformation process as well. Yeah.
Cool, great. We could talk all day. Actually, we can't. What's the going away piece of advice you'd like to give the audience in the Middle East about those really considering going agile as opposed to just doing agile because there's another tick in the box, it's the latest fad? What's your advice? Well,
first of all, you have to understand that agile makes you future-proof. It's, you know, these days, if you don't respond fast with high quality, someone else will. And I see companies going into trouble. So this is the most important one. Now, then the next one is, okay, how can we do it? And the recommendation is always be very strict on your agile rituals on every level in the organization. And if you go into the rituals and then you combine it with all stakeholders, realize yourself that you cannot have the same organization if you're working agile. So things will change, the silos will disappear, and so you have to be prepared for an organizational change and work hard on it.
And I think as they're doing these huddles, they will start coming up with the new answers to bonuses, to performance management, because there'll be... Yeah,
you know, the whole rewarding model in an agile environment. Agile is about, you know, moving away from individual tasks to team delivery. Okay, the question is, so how do you work with multidisciplinary people, different ways of development for people, different ways of ambition, but also different ways of rewarding and recruiting and etc. So you have a puzzle to make, and there is not one silver bullet.
No, for sure. Definitely. Good.
But move forward.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.